East Moldova, Bessarabia, the Soviet Socialist Moldovan Republic, ex-Soviet Moldova, Republic of Moldova. All these designations correspond to specific historical timelines, each with its own complicated past. What is Republic of Moldova? It's important to mention its historical name of Bessarabia, a province situated between the rivers Prut, Izbora with Romania, Nistru, and the Black Sea, borders that changed over the course of history to the north as much as to the east and south. Bessarabia, part of Romanian lands, was annexed to the Russian Empire in 1812. In 1918, after a short period of independence due to the February Revolution, Bessarabia is integrated in Romania and once again occupied by the Soviet Army at the start of World War II as a consequence of the pact between Stalin and Hitler. From that moment, Bessarabia becomes one of the 15 Soviet Socialist republics. The population goes through tremendous suffering during the war, including repressions, dispossessions of property, hunger, and forceful deportations to Gulag, the Siberian camps where over 100,000 Moldovans were sent to work under extreme conditions and either perished or suffered incredible humiliation and torment. Following the war, Moldova went through a Russification process where the Soviets tried to implement their ideology and create out of Moldovans the new Soviet men. Some of those tactics involved the educational institutions, language, media, and social structures in the society, mainly by organizing people into collective enterprises who would work for the state, thus eliminating the upper class of intellectuals, propriety, and landowners. These institutions were governed by the Soviets mainly, and any disobedience was reported and punished. Moldova was cut off from the rest of the world, and no one was able to travel outside of the Soviet borders. Towards the end of 1980, during Perestroika, the policy of reforming the economic and political system, the majority of the Romanian-speaking population makes important steps towards the regaining of their full rights in relationship to the Russian-speaking minorities. And on August 27, 1991, the Republic of Moldova proclaims its independence, appropriating the colors of the Romanian tricolor. The event is shadowed by the secession of the Transnistrian territory on the left side of Nistru River with the Moscow's involvement, a frozen conflict to this day. In the light of this recollection, what becomes clear is that the Republic of Moldova lives through a complex set of realities with many identities, sometimes complementary and sometimes opposed, as a consequence of a rich history of events lived one way by some and in another way by others. The Republic of Moldova, as a state, continues to exist 30-plus years since independence, yet the concept of national identity is slow to take shape and continues to be a confusion even in the minds of many Moldovans. To quote Nicholas Trifon, in this particular case, it's not about a nation in process of formation which is trying to have its own state, but a state in search of its nation. I am one of those children who lived through the Soviet regime and also democracy. This is a short film investigating how the notion of national identity is shaped and transformed, and how that plays out in the daily lives of people. Thank you so much, Mr. Casu, for agreeing to discuss with us. You dedicated a lot of your career to research and document and explore this topic. Can you tell me when this became important to you and what was the turning point?
The underlying question was, it was very personal actually. Whom I am, I am Moldovan or Romanian. In the forms I have filled in to become a student, I mentioned on rubric nationality, I said Moldavian Romanian. And he said, this is your problem, but I think you should choose one. You cannot have both. Yes, ethnically I'm Romanian, I'm speaking Romanian, but I want to stress that I'm from Moldova. We are living in a country where you cannot choose either, Russian or only Romanian, only Gagauz, only Bulgaria. We are having the majority of the population of the Serbia, of present-day Moldova. We have hyphenated identities. More like in the States, actually. Who you are, I can ask you, Adriana, who you are. You cannot say, if you say only Moldavia, this is not true because you are already something of American. I don't know how many percent, but still so you are Moldavian, American. It's about space, informational space. Yes, it's about topics you are having in common with others. You have this idea that you share something with them. Language, history, different perception about, the standard, let's say, what means a nation. You have some standard views on who is a hero to your nation, who is a traitor, who is the enemy, let's say, historically of your country, who would unite your identity, who persecuted your country, who wanted to conquer your country and destroy your culture, and so on and so on and so on. I think the most important element of identity, but not the only one, is the language. The language is the essence. It's the most visible sign of the identity, yes. And also the language is the bearer of the way you are thinking about something, including, present, past, future, a special sensitivity. The identity is about experiences. Identity is a sum of experiences. So that's why everybody has its own understanding of what means national identity. And if you are living in the Soviet Union, of course, you try to perpetuate your identity as Moldovan, Romanian, Ukrainian, whatever. But the state, through the school and other institutions, and let's not forget that the Soviet Union was a totalitarian state, or at least it tended to be. So this means the state, the Soviet state, was very different from the Western democratic societies, from America, from Western Europe, meaning that they wanted to control your thinking, not only the public life but also your private life. We have been Russified, not only Russified as in the Tsarist period, because in the Tsarist period the Russian language was more natural than in the Soviet Union. So we were Russified during the Soviet Union in a very, very specific way, because the Russian language was also kind of purged from the authors that could help us to think more like in the Western sense, to feel freedom. And also, so we studied, Russian literature, Russian authors, Russian culture. Ideas that writers expressed were very, very selective. They selected only the authors that could help the state to create a certain type of the Soviet man. Living in the Soviet Union was very different to be a Moldovan in the post-Soviet period. We have people in the urban areas, they don't need to speak Russian, which was almost impossible in the Soviet period. So that's why they feel they are also saying they are Moldovans or they are Romanians, but in a they are meaning very different things. Somebody who was born in the Soviet Union and was 50 years, let's say, at the end of the Soviet Union, and somebody like you and me, let's say, who had some, we were teenagers when the Soviet Union collapsed. So we experienced both kind of educational system, the political regime, let's say. So we are something different, and others who were born after 1991, they are also different. I remember if I can give an example of my son, and about living in an internet age, yes, worldwide web age, let's say. He's playing like his teenagers. He's 12 years old. He's playing different games online, yes. I noticed that there are positive things about that. He played with people from Romania, from other countries, but basically from Romania. So he is more fluent in Romanian than me. I studied in Romania 5 years, and so this is showing this kind of changes in the perception, in the way identity is shaped and perceived by different generations.
The difficulty with establishing one firm national identity in the Republic of Moldova, even after 3 decades since the dissolution of the Soviet Union, is not pertaining only to the historical events of that era, but the consequences of those events in the structure of our society. In their book, Republic of Moldova, A State in Search of a Nation, authors Matei Cazacu and Nicolas Trifon argue that the history of a country confronted with the necessity to operate a decolonization is inevitably a history of colonialism. Decolonization doesn't necessarily mean the rewriting of history, but finding the ways to create a personal history based on a country's aspirations and needs. Otherwise, the tensions in the interethnical conflicts in Moldova imply the need to relive the history either with hope or angst. The resettlement of the Gagauz peasantry in Bessarabia, a territory not fully populated at the time, was happening at the beginning of the 19th century, when the Tsarist Empire was encouraging the migration of population, while the arrival of the working Russian professionals to the Moldovan cities was the consequence, sometimes invented, of the intense industrialization of Soviet style. Finally, the existence of villages populated by the Ukrainians has a history almost as long as that of the Romanian villages in Moldova. Even if the Romanians were the majority, they were underprivileged by the Russian Empire and then by the Soviet one. The imperial crisis left various ethnicities on their own, and in the absence of a project with a vision for the future, the vicious cycle of nationalism had and continues to have priority. While my country's journey towards finding its nation is still a matter of time, debate, and the history unfolding in this very moment, my question remains.
I think identity is important for everybody. This is a constituent part of the self.